You know, one of the hardest things to admit is that when you buy something and you really like it at first, and there's still things that you really like about it, but you realize that over time, it's just not going to work out for you. Well, I've got that situation going on right now in my home gym, and I'm hoping that I'm sitting next to the solution. So today, when we do this unboxing of the Bells of Steel Hero Flat Bench, I'm gonna tell you the story of the bench that I've had up until now, and what I'm hoping this one will do that's better than that. Welcome back to the GymCrafter YouTube channel, everybody. My name is Tim. I am the head gym nerd here at GymCrafter.com, the website that I built to help ordinary folks like you and I build home and garage gyms that we absolutely love. And one of the things that you have to absolutely love about your gym is you have to love things for the long term. And one of the things I try and do here on GymCrafter.com and the GymCrafter YouTube channel is, unlike most of the other folks that do what I do, where they'll get a product, they'll open it up, they'll review it, and they're on to the next product, what I really want to let you guys know is how do things not only hold up durability-wise, but as you know, if you're a home gym person, as you use things, you start to get to know little nuances and little things that either work or don't work. And sometimes things go from something that you absolutely love to things that kind of bother you enough to look at replacing them. And that's the situation that I find myself in now. The flat bench that I've been using up until now is the Rep Fitness FB5000 competition flat bench with the wide back pad. Overall, I really like the bench. I've enjoyed using it a lot, but there's a couple of little things that I'll show you today that have led me to look for a replacement. And it pains me to say that I never thought that I would ever say that I want to replace a Rep Fitness bench, but there are just a couple of things on that bench that I really don't like. And they weren't apparent at first, but as I've used it over time, they've just bothered me more and more. And as we compare that to this bench today, I'll show you. But I'm hoping that this bench by Bells of Steel, it's called their Hero, it's their heavy duty flat bench. It's they don't call it a competition bench, but it's about as heavy duty as they make. And when I reached out to Bells and kind of told them the issue that I was having, they were nice enough to send this one out to me for review and comparison. So I'm hoping that today when I open it, I'll be able to know if it solves the problems that the Rep bench has right away, and I'll show you those. And then I'll use this for another 4 to 6 months and we'll come back and hopefully it's one that I'm gonna keep. But that's what we're gonna do today. We are going to unbox the Hero Flat Bench by Bells of Steel. And as usual, we're always gonna start our unboxings with the packaging. I will tell you that Bells is always hit or miss for packaging and shipping. This one showed up great. Sometimes their stuff doesn't show up great, but this one showed up great. I'm sure it's packaged well inside, but there's no issues inside. And then something silly that I'm gonna point out, but something that I'm really growing to like about Bells of Steel is some companies are all business, right? We're here to sell you stuff, you're here to buy stuff, let's not take it beyond that. And other companies like Bells actually have a personality and a sense of humor. Their Instagram account is one of the ones that I really enjoy following. Their marketing department has a great sense of humor. And they have a lot, you can tell that they really love training because they just have a lot of fun with it. And I love whenever I get their boxes, it says, let the gains begin on the outside. I know it's a little dumb thing, but it's just a touch that always makes me smile. Rep Fitness does something similar on their boxes, and lots of other companies don't. They're like, open here, lift here, and that's it. So again, kind of a dumb little touch, but shipping was good. These things ship from Indianapolis if you're in the US, so these things come, usually I get them within 2 or 3 days of order, and that's always a nice surprise as well, as I don't have to wait around for weeks to get stuff. But with all of that said, let's get to unboxing this. Let me get it put together, and I'll give you kind of a first impressions, and I'll show you what I wanted to fix on the Rep bench and whether or not this one fixes it. All right, so we've got this thing together. I got it together last night. I got up, I trained on it this morning, so I got a little bit of work in on it, and I'm ready to give you guys kind of the general overview of the Hero Bench by Bells of Steel. So we're gonna start with kind of packing, assembly, and the condition that it arrived. First of all, packaging-wise, probably one of the best packaged pieces I've ever gotten from Bells. This box right here is double-walled, so there's literally, even though it's clearly been thrown around, there's no holes, there's no rips, it's super thick cardboard. I really think, you know, Bells, if you're listening, this is the kind of packaging we need to do on pretty much everything at this point, because when that stuff travels on a boat from China to here, it gets thrown around quite a bit. I know my UPS guy hates me, and I'm sure he gives it an extra kind of fling out to the back of my garage whenever he delivers stuff. So it's nice to have this type of protection. Now, that said, on the inside, basically this was just your typical packaging. So it's got your bubble wrap around each piece. There was some styrofoam in between the major pieces, but there are a couple of little dings and nicks because, again, They're not in like fitted styrofoam like you see in some of the higher end packaging. So as these things get thrown around, they do ding into each other. There's nothing glaring, there's nothing major, there's nothing that made me want to call them and ask for, you know, money or to get a new piece or anything like that. And quite honestly, once I use this for a little bit, I'm going to put, I think I put more nicks in it putting it together than it came with. So not a big issue to me, but just to let you know, it's probably not going to be perfect as you get out of the box, but it's definitely going to be just fine. As far as the powder coat goes, powder coat's fantastic. It's a textured black powder coat. Bell's hasn't offered any kind of fancy finishes or anything yet, so everything they make is kind of this color, but it's a utility style bench and it's in good shape. So overall, the pad's in good shape, the powder coat's in good shape, everything came out of the box good. As far as assembly goes, definitely could use some better instructions. I've noticed this with all of the Bell's machines I've gotten, is that the instructions definitely need to be a little bit better. A couple of things that would help is all of the hardware kind of come in kind of just clumped up bags. So sometimes it's hard to know, am I using the right bolt? Am I not using the right bolt? And then also there's way too few steps. We really need to break these instructions down into smaller step-by-step instructions, but that's just a nitpick. I put enough of this stuff together to where that doesn't necessarily bother me a ton, but it is something to be concerned about. So now let's take a look at the overall dimensions and specs and all that kind of stuff that you guys know. Touching on the specs of this bench, it's a $329 retail bench. They do go on sale all the time. I do have a link down below that is an affiliate link. Two reasons why you want to use that. Number one, if you decide you want to buy one of these, it does give me a little bit of an extra kickback on the back end. Doesn't cost you anything extra. It's what kind of helps fund these videos. More importantly than that, Bells of Steel did, like I said, send me this bench, and the only reason they know to send me stuff is because you guys click on those links. So the more you click on your favorite YouTube influencers' links, the more stuff that manufacturers will send them and the more reviews you get to see. So it really helps us out a lot. That's why we're annoying and ask you in every video, but the link is down there, so check it out and check out what the current sale price on this is. As far as the overall measurements go, the length of it is 49 inches. The feet do not stick out any further than the end of the bench. That's one thing that I liked is there's nothing sticking out to trip over. The pad width is 14 inches. The overall width on the feet is just under 20 inches at 19.6. The height of the pad, which I know is important to you powerlifters out there, is 17.7 inches. So that's right in the range that you want if you are practicing. Now, this isn't an IPF spec bench, but it is going to work really well for you powerlifters out there who want to use a nice heavy duty bench to practice your bench pressing on. The pad thickness is 4.3. This is a giant pad, guys. It's not only nice and wide. I'm sitting on the Rep FB5000 with the wide pad. This pad length and width-wise is exactly the same. However, it is a good 50% thicker, and it's super nice so far. Like I said, I used it this morning. It's a nice pad. It's good and thick. There's some fit and finish issues on this that I'll show you in a minute when we talk about that, but overall, the pad itself I really liked. There is a handle on it. There's wheels on the back. Obviously, it stores upright. It's 11 gauge steel, and it's a 1,000-pound weight capacity. Let's go on to that fit and finish that I talked about. Now, fit and finish is one area where Bells of Steel has traditionally always had some issues, and it's no different in this particular case here. There are a couple of fit and finish issues that I need to point out that I do wish were different. Now, none of it's a deal breaker. One of them really bothers me a lot, but it's not enough to say, hey, I wouldn't buy this bench, but it is something that I wish was different, and I hope that not all of them are like this. But the powder coat is good. It does have a couple of nicks on it, but the two big glaring areas for me fit and finish wise are some of the welds, and specifically here on the handle, there's a couple of little burrs that poke out, and then the powder coat is over that. So when I file that burr off, because it's right where I grab it, it's gonna leave like a little silver spot. So I'm gonna have to file it off and then touch it up. Not a big deal, and probably not something a lot of people would notice, but because I'm making these videos, I tend to look pretty closely at things, and there's a couple of areas where that's the case. I'm also not a big fan of this knurl. This knurl is very, very passive. It's kind of knurled almost like it feels like to say that, hey, it's a knurled handle, but the whole point of a knurled handle is to give it that nice grip, and this particular knurling doesn't necessarily do that. Now, does that mean you can't carry the bench around? No. It's 86 pounds, I believe, 84 pounds, something like that. The wheels work great, so it's not that big of a deal, but it is something that I wish was better, and it's these little touches that I think as Bells of Steel matures as a company, that if we can start addressing those little tiny touches, you start opening stuff and going, wow, this little thing is cool, this little thing is cool. Because let's be honest, a lot of people make flat benches, right? As far as the design of it goes and kind of how it looks, I love this Bells of Steel plate here. Now, I would have loved to have seen the middle portion be a different color. Now, I'm going to take this off and probably paint the middle portion green to match the gym, and then slap these back on, and that'll actually really cool that you can customize it like that. But if this would have been like a stainless in the middle or stainless on the outside so that I can actually read this bells of steel, this is actually a really nice structural support and gives it some integrity, which is really, really nice. And we'll talk about that in the functionality of the bench section. But that's great. The couple of things that I really wish were different on this is the seat material itself is well stitched. It's pretty grippy. Now, it's not quite as grippy as the Rep that I'm sitting on. I think Rep probably has the grippiest bench material out there. So body weight only, when I pretended like I was gonna bench and dug my feet in and pushed, it's really hard to get yourself to slide across this Rep Fitness clean grip vinyl, they call it. With this, I could get myself to slide. Now, as soon as I put weights in my hands, no difference at all. So once I was weighted down, functionally speaking, no difference at all. But I think maybe just one more step up on the vinyl. But the big thing for me is that as you look at this pad, there's a section on the side that kind of bulges out a little bit. And the factory clearly just didn't have a cleanly cut foam pad underneath. And then they just stitched around it. So now I've got like this little weird misshapen indent on the side. Now, it doesn't affect the bench at all functionally. I've benched on it. I tried to see if I could feel it. I can't notice it at all, except my OCD. Every time I look at the bench, it's just like, wah, that's all I see is that little thing right there. So again, not a functional thing, but it's these little fit and finish things that I've kind of come to hope that aren't there in bells of steel stuff, but continue to be there. And that's something that was a little bit disappointing on the bench. Outside of that, fit and finish is pretty good. Is the fit and finish as good as the Rep that I'm sitting on? No, it's not. But is it good enough to get the job done? Absolutely. And I mentioned in a previous video, I kind of look at bells of steel as the get her done company. It's never going to be the prettiest thing in your gym, but it's always going to be a solid piece of gear that's at a really good price. This thing is a heck of a lot more stable than this thing is, so I will trade stability over a little bump in the side pad all day long. So it's not, like I said, it's not a deal breaker, and bells of steel are get her done, right? But while I'm talking about that, let's talk about the functionality of the bench, the things that I like, the things that I wish were different. And I want to start the functionality overview with the storage options for these bench. And right here, like I said, I've got the Rep Fitness FB5000. And one of the things that's always bugged me about this bench is while it does store upright and does claim that it stores upright, it's really wobbly. There's no actual specific pad on here or bumper on here to make it store upright. It just kind of stores upright on the seat post that goes straight through. It's got a little bit of a rubber cap on the end, but it's very, very wobbly. Now, is it going to knock over? Not unless I run into it, but this really, really bothers me. And it's just like the wobbling when it's sitting down, not a huge fan. So when I look at the bells of steel, it also wobbles a little bit left to right, but there's an actual dedicated bumper on it that's wide that actually keeps it from, it doesn't wobble forward to back at all, and it wobbles a little bit side to side if I really try, but it's not doing that. So as far as functionality goes and storage goes, I love it. The way that I set up this gym, and is a really good recommendation for you guys if you've got the room and the budget, is I like to have both an adjustable bench and a flat bench. That's why I'm looking at these. And I think that they serve two completely different purposes. And I love that setup. I also love that setup for when I do supersets. I don't have to drag a bench around the gym, and I'm able to do two different things in two different areas of the gym at one time. So I like this setup. And in order for me to facilitate that, both of my benches have to be able to store upright. I need the open area in the middle for deadlifting. I need it for the heavy bag. I need it for jump roping. I need it for ground-based calisthenic work. So I need these things to get up out of the way, and this upright storage is kind of important to me. Now, as far as getting it upright, on the top here, there is a handle. And this handle, to me, needs to be repositioned. So the reason I say that now, I like that it doesn't stick out, but it's so tucked up in here that if you were to reach in like you would normally do it to lift it up, what happens is when you lift it up, this bench kind of bumps into the back of your hand. So I've got to get used to grabbing it this way. Now, is that a big deal? No, but I don't like carrying it around like that. I really think a more natural way is to reach in. So I'd love to see another inch or two of space here. I know it's a nitpick, and a lot of you guys are gonna be like, well, that's a dumb thing to point out. But for me, it's just something that I move these around so often in this gym, especially when I'm filming in here, that it's an important thing for me to have for this to be really good at moving around. As far as its stability, which like I said is why I bought it, this thing is rock solid. It does not wobble, it does not bend, it does not do anything, it does not move. It's about 10 pounds heavier than the Rep, and I absolutely love it for that. Now, what I don't necessarily love, and I'm gonna have to get used to, is I have always preferred to have as I mentioned before, 3-post benches where at the foot of the bench, like you see here, there's a single post. The problem is this post on this rep bench is too small. So what I'd like to see is a 3-post bench with just a nice kind of a wider foot post. And the reason for that is that when you bench, you want to get your feet kind of underneath you and pulled in, and you push yourself into the bench that way. And when you have a 4-foot bench like this, those bottom feet are right in the way. Now, I did do some dumbbell bench pressing this morning, and it didn't bother me. I was surprised. I thought it was going to bug me. When I first put them together, I sat and I kind of intentionally, I think, because it's in my mind, tried it out. And I'm like, this isn't the way, this isn't the way. When I just sat down and just did the dumbbell bench presses and didn't think about it at first, my feet didn't run into these. So I'm gonna see if this is a problem or not a problem. It may be, I don't know, but I really typically, like I said, historically, if I had my druthers, I would have a 3-post bench over 4. So functionally, I guess I can't have best of both worlds, right? So if I wanted the stability of this, then I'm gonna have to have this type of a design or find something that's got a wider single post foot. But so far, the thing that I was most concerned about my flat bench was just stability. I have no problem jumping up onto this. I have no problem jumping down off of this. I tried some dumbbell rows, no issues whatsoever. And it's working really, really well as far as functionally speaking goes. One little nitpick about moving it around is you do have to kind of pick it up a little ways to get it to roll. I would love to see the wheels engage at a little bit lower angle. It's not a huge deal engineering wise to do that, but I don't think you should have to pick up your bench more than just a little bit to move it around. And the reason for that is when you're positioning your bench inside your rack or under a barbell, sometimes you just need to make little tiny adjustments, and just being able to pick it up a little bit and do that is beneficial. It's one of the things I really like about the rep bench is you don't have to pick it up very far at all, and it allows you to make those fine adjustments. Whereas with this one, I noticed I kind of had to pick it up a little bit farther than I wanted, and then it's kind of hard to tell if it's in the right place. Now, this is why I do reviews down the road, right? Because I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to get used to that. And if it's still a problem in 6 months, I'll let you know. I don't think it will be, but it's something, again, that I wanted to point out because I know a lot of people, they look at, they'll actually send me emails and things go, how far up do you have to pick this bench before it rolls? So I wanted to make sure and point that out. So for $329, it's not a bad deal at all. If you're looking for something stable, and for all of you folks out there who are lifting super heavy, there's just nothing like working out on a really rock solid flat bench, and I really think this is a great option for you. If you can deal with a couple of fit and finish issues that I talked about, and then some of the, like I said, the little pad issue, and you just need a bench that'll get her done and stay in place and not move, I really think this is a good option for you. Like I said, I'll be back in a few months with a final review on it. If you have any questions, drop those in the comments below. I'm happy to slap a tape measure on something for you or test something for you. And that's it for now. So thanks for watching this far in the review. If you like the review, hit the like button. If you like reviews like this, hit the subscribe button. And until the next review, I'm Tim with GymCrafter.